Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to today's session. I call this session because it is different from the typical lecture we do. Because today it is a typical session for students who join the HTM 3224, named the Technology Strategies in Hospitality, Tourism, and Events. But at the same time, we are also collaborating with the Tourism Professional Association of Kenya because they would like to listen to Professor Buhalis' lecture. We would also like to hear some sharing given by the Tourism Secretary from Kenya. So that's why we combined these two events into one. So welcome students from Hong Kong and also welcome all of the guests from different parts of the world. Right, so today's session will be divided into two parts. First of all, because the theme of today's session is about smart tourism destination and Kenya as a smart destination, we will firstly invite Professor Buhalis to give a 45 minutes lecture with the title Smart Tourism Destination, Technology Empowered Destination Management, Opportunities and Challenges. After Professor Buhalis finishes his sharing, then we will have a short Q&A, or we will firstly invite Mr. Athman, the Tourism Secretary from Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife Kenya, to give a guest lecture. And then we will have another Q&A session so the students and all the audience can ask the questions to our speakers, right? So before I hand over the stage to Professor Buhalis and our guests, please allow me to give some housekeeping rules to you. So during the guests deliver their sharing, so we will hope that you can turn on your camera so that the guests can see and do some interaction with you. But without the consent from the guests, so we hope that you can mute your microphone because your voice may give some unnecessary disturbance to our guests. So I hope that all of the attendees for today's session can strictly follow these two rules. All right. So may I kindly invite students and guests to turn on the camera so that Professor Buhalis and all of the guests can see you. Students from HTM 3224, could you please turn on your camera? Right, good. Thank you very much for your cooperation. I could see quite a lot of students turn on camera already.
Yeah, it's great to see faces, eh?
So I guess some students are ready to turn on. So without any further ado, so I will hand over the stage to Professor Buhalis, and he will give the lecture themed the Smart Tourism Destination. So Dimitrios, it's your show time. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. That's fantastic. And a great afternoon or morning from where you are. When Joy approached me and said, can you speak to my colleagues in Kenya? I was thinking, yes, of course, we actually need to help Africa, Kenya, and the different regions to actually benefit from a lot of those things and take advantage of the knowledge that we've got globally. And at the same time, I was thinking, okay, but my students would like to hear a real case study from a destination that they may not be as familiar with. So I asked my good friend, the Minister of Tourism in Kenya, Mr. Balala, and he was very happy to collaborate and engage with us. And because he was unavailable today, he asked me, and he brought Mr. Athman, who is going to be speaking with us later on. But thank you to Joy for doing this, because now, thanks to her efforts, we have got a lot of people from around the world. And it's a great pleasure to actually bring you in my class effectively, because this is my class for the students here. So I hope that you're going to have a lot of questions. I love to see so many faces. Absolutely wonderful. Normally, if I teach and I don't see any faces, I get totally demotivated and I stop operating. But it's lovely to see you all. And it's great to actually do this together. Please use the chat to ask any questions, and I'll ask Daniel to keep an eye on the chat. I'll also be looking at the chat, and we'll be able to do different things. He asked for 45 minutes. I'm not sure if I'll do it in 45 minutes, Daniel, but I'll try my best, right? And is Mr. Athman with us on the call, Joy, or is he joining us in an hour's time?
I saw him coming in before we started. He was already online. But now I don't see him again, so maybe he will come back.
Or maybe the camera off. Okay, that's fine. That's great. Okay, thank you so much. I'll let Daniel to deal with that. Let me share my screen. And actually, I've got a confession to do. This morning, I thought, okay, you've been teaching this for a while. It's ready. So you wouldn't have to do a lot of preparation, but actually I spent most of the day today working on this. I'll go very quickly, but I'm going to give you a lot of references, okay? Because smart tourism destinations are a very complicated kind of thing, and I've been working on it for the last 30 years effectively. But I'm going to give you a lot of reference so you can read and you can learn from a lot of these things. Before I start, let me say Ramadan Kareem for those people who are fasting. I know that your minister is fasting, and anybody who is celebrating Ramadan Kareem. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm editing the Tourism Review, and I'm also the editor-in-chief of the Encyclopedia of Tourism Management and Marketing. And a lot of the things I'll be saying are coming from that. And some of the basic things that we need to address when we're dealing with tourist destination is something that has come out of the Encyclopedia of Tourism Management and Marketing when we did the 1,250 entries from 1,500 people around the world. And some of this is coming from my latest book on gamification for tourism that we have edited with my good friend Fei Su in Southeast University in Nanjing in China, and with several kind authors that have come forward. Now, quite often we're talking about destinations, but we are not very clear on what we're trying to do as a strategy for destinations. What we're trying to do is fundamental. And what it is we really need to develop differentiation so we can achieve competitive advantage for destinations. Destinations need to enhance their reputation and develop an image that will enable them to be attractive. So they'll be bringing a lot of innovation investment, and they're going to bring new innovative business models so the business will be successful. By doing that, what we're trying to do is we're trying to optimize the resources that we're using, and you'll see that in a minute, and we're trying to bring benefits to residents. This is based on a publication I did in 2000, and this is still the most cited publication that has been written in tourism ever, because it brings the fundamental things of tourism destinations and what we're trying to do. And smartness is really supporting the strategic management and marketing of destinations. It's not something that it's in the corner, it's technology, it's not relevant to things. It's really something that is enabling the strategic management and marketing of destinations. Now, out of the encyclopedia, what we brought together is, apart from the tourism system that you hopefully have seen based on Neil Lipier's theory, where you've got the traveler generation region and the travel destination region, and you've got the transit region here. We also identified that in order for this to operate, you need resources. And resources are coming in many different ways: environmental, sociocultural capital, human resource, talent. All of this is coming into this tourism system and comes out as a value co-creation for different stakeholders. These are the benefits that people are getting by participating in the tourism system. If I'm a tourist and I go around Hong Kong and I'd like to do shopping, cultural experience, eating, these are value and benefits that I get because I'm doing this. And if I'm coming to Kenya, there may be very different kind of benefits and value that I'd like to get out of the destination. So we really need to understand what gets into the system, what do we consume in order to create value, in order to create the benefits out of the system. And we need to understand that the whole system is based on this pyramid. And the pyramid is planning, management, and strategy. It has got market forces, things that the market is moving forward. It has got a range of exogenous variables, including COVID, including the war in Ukraine, and a lot of other things that are happening as a result of that, like the energy prices going up, like the petrol prices going up, like the tickets of flights that they're going to come as a result. And then you've got the technology and the infrastructure that's the base of the pyramid, where we are plugging different products and services and we are playing. So for the tourism system to operate and to be successful, what we need to do is we make sure that the system is operating as an ecosystem. We've got resources that are coming in, that they are being transformed into value in the system, and we have value co-creation at the end of this, where you have got benefits that are coming for the stakeholders. If one stakeholder gets all the benefits and the others do not, we've got a problem. So we really need to manage this thing in a clever way. And then in order for the system to operate, we need to understand all the principles of planning, management, and strategy that we need to operate, what's happening with the markets, how the markets are moving, what is happening in the different kind of key markets that are very important to us, what is happening with the exogenous variables, what's our external context, and how can we use technology as the infrastructure to make all of these things work at the same time. As I said, I'm going to cover a lot of ground today, and I'm going to cover research of 30 years. So please read the documents that are out there, because they'll enable you to expand and understand in more detail a lot of these things. So when we talk about smartness, smart cities, and smart tourism, this started about 10 years ago when we started talking about smartness. And I've done presentations about smartness and smart tourism everywhere in the world. And normally, if I'm in a big theater with a lot of people in there, I normally ask them, who is smart? And everybody raise their hand and say, I'm smart. And then I'm asking them, who is stupid? And nobody replies to it. And then I'm telling them by the end of the session, they don't need to tell me, but they need to tell themselves whether they are really smart or they are really stupid, and do whatever they do in order to improve their competitiveness based on the tools and the things that we're bringing up. There are 4 or 5 publications in the last 2 or 3 years that are really, really critical on the things I'm talking about. So please make sure that you read those. If you don't read the whole list of publications, at least those ones you must read if you like to know anything about the topic. So smartness, and when I'm putting slides, you'll see in blue a reference. So normally what I'm saying here is based on this publication. So smartness takes advantage of the interoperability and interconnectivity of integrated technologies by bringing all process and data together towards innovation in terms of service production and procedures in order to maximize the value for all the stakeholders. So what smartness does is re-engineers the entire processes that we're using in tourism by giving us tools to operate in a very different way. So smartness operates as the glue of interoperable systems. And something I really want you to remember is that smartness is about networks. It's about network optimization. Okay. Smartness is not about improving your own performance as an individual hotel or a tour operator or a travel agent or cultural attraction or a beach or whatever. It's really about bringing everybody in the system to interconnect and operate as an ecosystem that's really efficient. Okay, so that is important to remember. When I say smartness, I really want you on your mind to think network and network optimization, because this is what it is. And you'll read a lot of papers by a lot of people who think that they are very smart and they write a lot of papers, but they have not understood this little fundamental difference. And what they are talking about is optimization or automation or evolution of technology. Smartness is revolutionary, it's not evolutionary. Okay, so a lot of these things are coming from smart cities, and you can see the different components of smart cities, where you've got smart government, you've got Wi-Fi and mobility in terms of connectivity, you've got digital citizens, smart citizens, You've got smart health, smart farming, smart agriculture, smart buildings, smart energy, and smart transportation. At this time, all my friends who have said, yes, I'm very smart, they need to think for a minute, what do they do from these things and why are they smart? Okay. And if they don't, they need to start thinking why they don't do. Smartness is based on networks and the interoperability and interconnectivity of different systems that belong to different people. So no matter who has information, do we have all the information together? So if I'm from the university, Hong Kong Polytechnic University, I would like to go to Kenya. What is the best way to leave from here and go to Kenya? Now, some of you who have done it many times, you know the answer because you've done a lot of research. I've never been to Kenya, in fact, but when you would like to look into these things, you really need all the networks of every single airline, of every single transportation company to be optimized and come forward with a solution that's a very good itinerary and a very good price, and to provide all the different elements into this in order to be able to create value. It's based on the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything. It's based on sensors and beacons. You'll see these things in a minute. And it's based on big data and data analytics, because we constantly need to analyze data in order to be able to understand what is happening in our environment, in our context, and what is the best course of action at that particular time. Now, when you're looking to stakeholders for smartness, you've got a lot of tourism stakeholders like accommodation establishment, restaurants, entertainment, sports, retail, transportation, and also borders. You've got a lot of technology partners like telecommunications, gatekeepers like Facebook, Google, and Amazon, mobile applications, digital transport developers, CCTV providers, all of these technology providers. And then you've got a lot of different players in other destinations, like the local government, police, destination management organizations, business improvement districts, utility service providers, transportation, banking, universities and research organizations. And when I'll update this slide, I'll include all the health authorities, all the hospitals, because we've seen with COVID how important those things were. Whether we'll be able to fly or not is a decision that is not depending on the traveler anymore, but it's depending on the regulations, it's depending on the health situation that you have got locally. And not only locally, but at the place of origin and at the place of arrival. So if I want to go to Kenya, I want to know if I'm allowed to leave Hong Kong, and if I'm allowed to enter Kenya, and what requirements I'll have in the middle. So all of these players are part of this big ecosystem that we need to optimize. I said earlier, smartness is not about automation or technology. It's not about digitization. It's not about evolution. It's not about social media reservations. Because quite often when I say smartness, this is what people understand. Smartness is really the glue to bring together all the networks and to create real-time, dynamic, adaptive, customized, individualized, and contextualized kind of solutions that meet your requirements and they meet the requirements of the service provider. So on the one side, you need to meet the requirements of the traveler, no matter what requirements these are at each particular moment. So if you travel with your mother, it will be very different if you travel with your wife or your husband or your kids, because you'll have different needs, different requirements. So smartness really understands the individual, what's the requirement, and how can we customize and contextualize the service in real time. What's happening is that we've got a range of different technologies. So every single technology that you have got that is collecting information and enable us to connect with different things. And then you've got smart environments where they bring a range of different technological solutions and also marketing solutions to synthesize innovations. So what happens next is that you come into here where supply meets demand, and this is where you are creating magic moments. And then you've got different technologies as well to support a lot of those things, like virtual reality, augmented reality, location-based service, autonomous devices. All of those things are coming here to support the supply side to meet the demand side. So these are the service providers, these are the consumers. Now, what we say on this paper is that smartness brings disruption in the marketplace, and brings this disruption because in the past, the ecosystems were operating in different ways. Okay, so when you are bringing this level of technological advancement, and you're bringing a range of different kinds of techniques and innovations, what we are doing 10 years ago will be irrelevant. For those of you who are more than 30 years old, you probably remember something that's called Kodak. I used to be a photographer. I used to take a lot of pictures. We used to have a film, and we used to take it to a photography laboratory to develop the film. We used to wait for a week to get the pictures back, and we used to pay for every single picture before we take the picture, and then when it was developed, depending on the size of the picture that we're developing. A lot of my students currently have no idea what I'm talking about, because simply it became irrelevant. It's legacy. They don't know analog photography. They all have got a fantastic phone with them that's taking wonderful pictures. And what we were doing 10, 15, 20 years ago is totally irrelevant to them. And the same thing is happening in tourism. We are moving to the next stage, and the next stage makes the previous stages almost irrelevant. So we're going from technology, then to e-tourism, and then to smart tourism, where technology was mono organizations, and you had communication one-to-one, and you had very linear kind of actions. And now we're going to communications many-to-many and non-linear. You've got network interoperable suppliers, but also network interoperable consumers, because the consumers speak to each other constantly. You've got co-creation in real time. You've got the demand for personalization, contextualization of services. Please don't give me ice cream if the temperature is less than 20 degrees. And please give me ice cream if the temperature is more than 26 degrees. So all of this context is coming into the front of how we are creating, how we co-create value. And it's based on big data. It's based on the evolution of travel. It's based on artificial intelligence, and it's based on real time. And you'll see a lot of these things in a minute. So consumers are driving for these things, and they drive for these things because they want instant gratification. They want to personalize their services, contextualize to themselves, and co-create experience. And this is happening before travel, during travel, and after travel. It is happening before we travel somewhere, because we are searching for the information and we are imagining the information. It's happening during our trip, because when we're at the destination, we're looking to what is the best thing to do tonight? Is there a theater happening tonight? Where is the best restaurant tonight that has got availability, and I would like to go and enjoy there. And after you go away, it's how do you manage all these memories and all these contexts and all these people that you have met throughout your trip. So we are going away from the non-smart traveler who was confused, unfamiliar with the environment, had a lot of barriers to entry, such as language or mobility needs. And we're going to a very smart traveler who is very equipped to deal with the hostile environment, that is looking for personalized and contextualized services, that engage and explores, and is looking for authentic and immersive experiences at all stages of their travel. So when I go around Hong Kong, obviously, because I don't speak Cantonese, I'm trying to understand restaurants and menus. And if Daniel is not very nice to take me out and show me some things, I go around with my Google Translation, looking into different menus and try to understand what I'm eating or what to order. So the new traveler is connected and informed, is using user-generated content, and is influenced by the brand reputation, and has got a major impact on the destination. And then we are moving away from word of mouth to word of mouth, because anything we say is immediately available to everyone. So any of you who are on my social media, they know what I had for breakfast today. And a lot of people are asking me, oh, what is this? And I had to explain to my European friends what is to have a noodle soup for breakfast, and why would you have a noodle soup for breakfast? Because they are not familiar with that. My observation and my content that is shared is then going a long way, because a lot of people are learning from these things. Now, I talked about sensors early on and beacons. Sensors are collecting information from wherever this information exists. So all the devices are generating a lot of information, a lot of data. And a lot of this data are very useful to actually understand what is happening in the context, and also predict behavior of what's going to happen around us. And you'll see later on some of these examples. But this car that is moving, the movement of a car gives us traffic information. How do we know that the car is moving? Because the car is connected, and also the mobile phones in the car are also connected. So if it's a road that you can go for 30 kilometers per hour, and all the cars on this road are moving with 10 kilometers per hour, you know that you've got a traffic jam. And because of that, there are a lot of other things that you need to decide in a minute. So you can have information about light, you can have information whether it's raining or not. You can have a lot of information that's coming from a lot of sensors around you. You see this rubbish bins here. You'll see later on an example from Barcelona where the rubbish bin were saying to the control room, hey, I'm absolutely full. Can you please come and clean me and empty me so I can take some more rubbish? So we are going to a situation where everything speaks with everything. Okay, and that situation is going to bring us forward to different things. Now, our body is going to be speaking to technology through wearables. I don't know if anybody is having one of these wrists on their watch that they're collecting information. A lot of these things will be coming with us to provide benefits. And then you've got social media that's collecting a lot of data from out there, where everybody is uploading information, text, pictures, videos, whatever, and we can collect and process in real time and understand what's happening. There's this guy called Brian Solis who has created the conversation prism, and he's talking about the different types of social media that can collect information as this information is happening. Okay, so you can have video social media, you can have content networking, you've got all kinds of different social media platforms which people are uploading information all the time. And you, where you is the brand, it may be your own brand, or it may be, I don't know, Hong Kong Tourist Board, or it can be Kenya Tourist Board, or it can be Kenya Airways or Cathay Pacific or whoever, is constantly listening to what people are saying. They engage in this conversation. They learn from this conversation, and they co-create benefits back to their customers. Now, this is revolutionary, because we never had the opportunity to actually understand what was happening unless people were making the effort to call us or come to the office or send us a letter to say, hey, you haven't provided the right kind of service, you haven't provided what you promised, and therefore I'm very angry with you. Now, what you find here is that people are data mining information that's on the cloud, and in real time, they understand what's happening. for those of you who are coming from China, of course, a lot of the social media in the West are not allowed in China. So you don't have Facebook, YouTube and things like that, but you've got a range of different social media in China. And in the middle, you've got the Great Wall of China. So we really need, if organizations would like to do business with Chinese customers, they need to be able to operate within the Great Wall of China and the other way around. So we need to be able to look at both sets of social media landscapes. We're getting to a situation where we call it ambient intelligence and ambient connectivity. Ambient intelligence and ambient connectivity means that everything's connected to everything. And everything communicates with everything. So in this example, you've got a lot of cars that they are interacting with different actors as they are driving along, and they're giving positioning information. That is telling us things about the traffic. And increasingly what's going to happen is that if this car slows down immediately because there's a pedestrian or someone was playing football and they got the ball right in the middle there and brakes very hard, this car is going to inform the next car that this is what's happening. Ambient intelligence means that we've got a lot of smart systems on everyday environments propelling interconnectivity or interoperability and bring the Internet of Things into action. Now, if you look around your living environment, you are probably going to see a lot of systems that you may have not actually noticed. They may be presence sensors, they may be wireless technologies, they may be CO sensors, they may be surveillance cameras, they may be sensors to control the food or the temperature of the food, light control. There are a lot of these things that currently, most of them, they are doing one job and they may not be as connected as they can be in the future. But we're going to a situation where all of these things are connected and all of these things are interoperable. Meaning that you've got the customer right in the middle, and then you've got the Internet of Things, the Internet of Everything. You've got all kinds of technologies like 5G for networking, RFID, mobile devices and wearables, APIs, cryptocurrency and blockchain, sensors and beacons, pervasive computing, gamification, and artificial intelligence and machine learning operating together to actually bring services to those people right in the middle. Okay. And what is that going to drive to? It's a situation where we get input from all kinds of devices, different kinds of data that is going to come forward. Then what's happening is that this data is going up on the cloud for storage and data treatment. So we do data mining in real time. And then we've got a range of descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive processes where we understand what is happening, why it's happening. And then as the output of this process, we say, okay, so therefore, what does it need to happen? And this is where you're creating output, and that output is bringing value co-creation. So let me give you an example. I don't know, the temperature in Hong Kong today dropped by 10 degrees or something. So you have got this information coming in. You had a prediction yesterday because the meteorological office sent a warning. And then later on, you saw a storm and you saw the temperature dropping. As a result of that, people are doing different things and they feel different. Are you going to cook the same food or are you going to cook different food? People will be looking for warmer food. People will be looking for a different kind of value to satisfy their needs. And what then happens is that you trigger a certain process, and you're not selling people ice cream today, but you're selling them, I don't know, hot chocolate. Okay, so I'm just giving you simple examples to understand how one thing is triggering a whole range of different processes, and to understand how different players are coming to the market to do different things. Then you've got something that we call beacons, and beacons all kind of types of ways of communicating back to users. It can be an email, it can be a message on a mobile as you're going through, it can be an SMS. It doesn't matter really how, the format of what it is. But the beacon is actually getting back a benefit and a message to give you benefit and value for what's happening in your contextual information. And of course, what it means is that increasingly we know everything about our consumers. Father, I've seen. I already know. Because what's happening is that consumers are not this kind of beast, tourists. I keep going around different places. I meet ministers, I meet businesses that they say, when the tourists arrive, I say, who is the tourist? What do they want? Why are they here? What language do they speak? How old are they? Are they all the same tourists? They're all very different. And this is what brings us into how the network can actually learn and benefit from that and provide contextualized and individualized kind of services. We started in 2013 with smart tourism destinations, but in 2015 we published one of the first papers that talked about dynamic technology platforms that support real-time information exchange and enhance decision-making in tourism. And it was really about understanding how can we create personalized services based on what we knew about the tourists and what we can do with them. Now, I keep saying that smartness is not about technology. Technology empowers smartness, but smartness is about agility and networking. You can have all the technology in the world, but if you are not clever and you are not agile, you'll achieve nothing. The only thing that you have achieved is you have spent a lot of money in acquiring technology that you not know how to use. It's the same thing like a car. You can have the latest Mercedes, BMW, whatever your dream car is, but if you are not skilled to drive it, the only thing you can do is play with a radio. So it is really important to understand that smartness is not about technology, but it's the empowering technology that then enables strategic benefits and enables agility and networking. When you're looking to what comes into smartness, you really look into technology being one of the elements, but then you're looking to leadership and you're looking to people. And the more we've done research all over the place, we've seen that leadership and the ability of people to understand what they can do with these things is the most important factor that determines whether they'll be successful. Then you've got economic, sociocultural, and technological actors coming together, that they are working together towards creating smart innovations. And smart innovations are about smart mobility, smart governance, smart economy, smart people, smart living, and smart environments. And all of those things are then transformed into smart tourism by creating the right packages for the people that they need these packages to actually manage them. I'll give you some examples from different places. Barcelona is a typical kind of situation where a lot of people are talking about how smart Barcelona is. You remember I said about trash cans and reporting the status in real time? I didn't make that up. It's happening in Barcelona for many years. So the rubbish bin is talking to the system and say, hey, this is what's happening in my situation. And you can see a lot of different kind of things that, so smart biking and smart mobility by linking all kinds of transportation elements and getting a lot of different players to come together, opening data so everybody can have access to open data and manage this open data. And the way they've done it is they have laid different things. So they look into the environment, they look into the different infrastructure in terms of technology, water, energy, matter, mobility, and nature. And then they start operating the different domains for the public and the private sector and created an infrastructure that enables them to deliver services and functions through open governance. There's a lot of material on Barcelona if you are interested have a look on how they've done Smart Barcelona. Okay. And then the other places, this is Oman, that they've done the smart city platform. This is Dubai, where they're looking to a lot of different elements of Dubai and how they all work together. And the more difficult the environment it is, or the bigger the city it is, the more smartness you need. That's a rule of thumb. Because if you need a lot of people, and if you've got a lot of environments, and you've got a lot of players, you really need to be proactive and reactive in the way that you operate. So there are things here like smart governance, smart water management, smart building linking to energy, smart healthcare, smart CO2 emissions, smart circular economy, and things like that. Again, Dubai is one of the very, very smart places. This is a picture from Hangzhou in China. And this is some of the things that you can see that are collecting information. So this policewoman here, she's got a camera here, 1, 2, 3 cameras at the same time, all of them connected and all of them streaming information. There are people looking at these things and they make appropriate action. This in Hangzhou, Hangzhou is a smart city. And they are experimenting, they call it the brain in Hangzhou. And what they do is they're experimenting different ways and artificial intelligence to help them manage the traffic. As you can see, pedestrians are yellow. You can see that cars are blue, and you can see bikes and motorbikes are red, because they need to manage the different traffic, and they need to understand what's happening in the situation. And this is coming from Korea, from something that's called TOPIS, the Transportation Operation Information System. It is based in the municipality of Korea, and it's controlling all the transportation in Korea. And also it controls everything else. So you can see in different situations, they understand what is happening in different environments, and they understand what they've got to do for that. So if one road is very blocked, they may decide that the traffic lights will remain open for much longer, so the traffic goes through. So they make all kinds of adjustments to this kind of environments to make sure that they optimize the way they operate. And they optimize all kinds of eventualities. They also optimize different emergencies that they may have. And this is my favorite one, because they optimize bus routes. So this is a bus route that's a live, I think the B151 bus, and they are looking to what are the conditions on the bus at different stages on the route. So there are areas where they are green, there are areas that they are yellow, and there are areas that they are red. If you've got a situation with red, they may decide to bring another bus only on this region here, to make sure that this region is managed in a better way. Or they keep looking to what's happening, and in real time they make decisions to support what they can do. There are a lot of these systems are used for security and controlling different places all over the world, or for crisis management, especially when you've got the situation where you need to have eyes at the destination to understand how they should operate. Now, when we are dealing with tourism and personalized experiences, you've got on the one side, you've got the supply side, on the other side, you've got the demand side. And in the middle here, we've got personal encounters. And this is where we're creating personalized experiences. Now, personalized experience are really important because each of us as a traveler has got different requirements. So we really need to understand what is this requirement in this particular moment that can bring the best value for the travelers, and how can we actually achieve this? And this is when we need to understand what is the context and what influences that context. So one of these things is basically the internal and the external context. So this is the internal context and what people like, the goals, the preference, the tasks, emotional status, abilities, disabilities, approaches, personal events, and topics of interest. So this is you as an individual. And this is the external environment, the season, the political situation, the light, the traffic, the air pressure, delays, weather, location, emergent strikes, and all of those things. So when you are walking towards the Tower Bridge in London, you may have very different requirements depending on what is happening around you, inside you, and outside you. And this is where smartness brings us the tools to actually customize and personalize these requirements. So you've got travelers on the one side, you've got destination travel industry on the other side, and you've got this space, which we call SOCOMO, where you've got social media, context-based, and mobile smartphones kind of connectivity to enable you to co-create real-time value with different players. Again, this is something we've written in 2015. A lot of things have changed, but actually the need remains the same. It's the technology that is changing, and what technology, when we say technology is changing, it's becoming faster, cheaper, and much more predictable. So artificial intelligence will understand what situation you'll be in without you necessarily raising the alarm, or without looking for the information. Where we're going is the situation where the information will be looking for you. You are not going to be looking for the information. And what's happening is that because of all these things, this circle that's going from the data from the tourism industry up to the cloud, down to the consumer's value, and back as data into the organization, will be much, much faster than it was in the past. Because what was happening in the past is that this circle used to take years of or months. Now this circle takes seconds, because you can always give something in the marketplace and you can see how people accept it or not accept it, and then come back again with that. So the smart ecosystems will be interoperable systems in real time. They'll be using the big data and the Internet of Everything and open data to create positive experience through co-creation and deliver value through marketing. It's driven by agility. It's basically co-creating memorable experience that's enabled by big data connectivity. And then it's driven by strategic and tactical marketing to make sure that it creates that kind of benefits. And I've been saying about the real time and the real time marketing. And it's what you see here is a situation where marketing is understanding what's happening around you, and in real time adjust the value to the needs and the requirements for you. Okay, so we understand what's happening near you, and then we add this kind of personalization. How do you do that? Because in real time, you look at location-based, where is the user? What are the mentions? What are the sentiments? What's the hashtags? What are the trending topics? What are the keyword tracking? What the competitors are doing? And based on all these, we'll understand what is the contextual situation. Now, some of you we've seen that yesterday we had a presentation in Portugal, in Algarve. And we were talking about smartness and how we can help Portugal increase its smartness. And one of the people who was there was David Gonzalez, who is the group head of big data and artificial intelligence for Vodafone. And he did a very impressive presentation. And of course, I stole some of his slides to show you. This is from yesterday. And I'll show you what Vodafone is doing. And you'll see some of the examples in how they're doing. So it's really about understanding with big data in motion, what is happening and how can we provide better services. So one of the things that they're doing is public lighting service and save energy. So this is in Brussels, the Grand Square, I think. If there's nobody there, do we need to have lights on all the buildings or not? And given the energy prices right now, can we switch off lights and make sure that we use only what we use? This is in Andalusia, in the south of Spain. And there is a challenge. In the summertime, Andalusia, more people are going towards the sea, and therefore they are moving away from their normal environment. We need to understand where are the places that they're under immense pressure. And that may be that we change the flow of transportation, or we may send additional services in those places by understanding the concentration of the concentration of people and the resources that are currently needed. And this is the something that they use in England, in the UK network, railway network. They try to identify how many people are on trains and how many people are on stations. And of course, if you are, they're counting mobiles, obviously, and they count the flow of mobiles and where mobiles are going. And this is yesterday's data that David shared with us. So these are different stations in the UK. So you see Birmingham New Street, you see Brighton, you see Bristol Temple, you see Clapham Junction, Edinburgh, Euston. And you see in real time whether the station is under pressure or not. On this example, Bristol is under pressure. And they can see, they can do a prediction what was happening 5 minutes ago and what's happening 15 minutes ago, what happened 30 minutes ago, and they can see what's going to happen in the future. So what is happening is that the system is learning from the data in real time and understand what needs to happen. So if this is a normal situation, it may need 2 more trains to leave earlier to make sure that people are leaving from the station rather than wait there. Or they may, or if there are not enough people traveling, they may have less services so they can be operating in the best way. Similar, during the lockdown here in Hong Kong, a lot of the transportation services, the Star Ferry, a lot of the buses were either finishing earlier or operating part of the capacity, or they're operating less activities. This is in Spain, understanding what's the tourism flow and where people are going and why they're going there, and understand what they're doing. And this is the map of the user cases that they're supporting using big data, and to understand, to create different value for different players. This is from yesterday. This is what Vodafone is doing. And I've been talking a lot about these things, and particularly the benefit of nowness, because nowness is bringing instant gratification. In the past, we had real time, we had price or differentiation as the main factor to satisfy demand. Increasingly, we'll have instant gratification. Maybe not be the cheapest product, or it may not be the best product for you, but it will be available right there and then, and that will give you the benefit of using it. And then what's happening is that you've got some real-time triggers that they bring, they change the context. And then you've got co-creation, you've got data-driven, customer-centric, experience-enhancing, real-time co-creation, where depending on what is happening, people are trying to maximize the value of what they do, and they create real-time service enablers to maximize the value for what they're doing. Please read this paper that we've done in real-time co-creation to understand what I'm talking about, because it's quite complicated to understand how using real-time data, you can almost instantly come back with services. Now, when I'm saying this thing, and I keep asking people, do you still think that you're smart? I'm then asking them, when is the last time that you changed your menu in your restaurant? And they're telling me last year. And I'm asking, when is the last time that you changed your prices? And I'm asking them, what is your capacity for today? Have you got any spare rooms? Have you got any spare chairs in your restaurant? 9 times out of 10, people do not know the answers to this thing. And if you do not know how you're managing your inventory, you cannot actually manage in a clever way. So it's really important that we understand how data can be collected in order to manage those things. And when a destination is managed, this is the latest research we've done with Alicia Bethune, who is doing her PhD with me. It's really about understanding how destinations can develop their response and their resilience, especially in a crisis time. When we need to understand what's happening at the destination and co-create real-time sharing of all the different things that influence a crisis, and we manage to have the best response and the real benefits as a result of that. Now I'll finish with digital divide, and I haven't seen the questions on the chat, but I guess some of the questions will be: look, in Africa you don't have that level of technology, you don't have that level of infrastructure. And I can read a lot of minds that they're saying, okay, that's great for a very developed country where technologically they're on 5G and things like that. But, you know, I've done a lot of work in Africa. I haven't done in Kenya, but some time ago, someone asked me in Ivory Coast, he said, have you realized but 2/3 of the country doesn't have electricity? And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not God. I cannot play God, but so I can tell you the things I think that you can do. But a lot of these things will need, if we understand what we're doing, we're going to skip a point of investment. We'll skip a period of investment and go to the next stage. And especially because mobiles and fast mobiles are becoming much more affordable, and in a lot of African countries, you will go directly to that level of connectivity without having to invest on digging the roads and putting cables in that Europe has done and US has done years ago. So what is going to happen is that you're going to go to the next stage of technological investment, and it's going to be the next stage that is actually easier and faster to do it. For my Hong Kong students, let's see some Kenya, so you'll understand what we're talking about. This is your tourism destination. I don't know if I've got time to play this. I'll just start it. That's why I spend a lot of time today preparing for that, because I keep looking at wonderful videos about Kenya and start planning my trip. But this some of the ideas of what's happening. Now, in 2010, we published a paper with Valeria Minghetti on digital divide. And we look at the digital inclusion risk index, which are the places that they are very isolated in terms of technological innovation, and they're excluded from digital inclusion. And of course, Africa is one of these areas. Southwest Asia and different areas, they are also in that kind of situation. And of course, this is research that happened in 2009. A lot of water has gone through there, but this is an interesting framework that we put forward, what needs to happen in tourism. So what happens is that if you've got high digital access destination and high digital access tourists, people communicate using all kinds of smart technologies to connect directly. If you don't, what you do, and you've got high digital access tourists and low digital access destinations, what you've got is a lot of intermediaries here. They are doing that as a proxy. The problem with that is that each player who is coming to the game is getting commissions and is getting money out of the system. So if you've got booking.com, it charges you between 15 and 25% to give you a booking, right? So the more players you have got in the value chain, the more the cost of it you've got the more cost you have got that gets out of the country and the destination. I think for me, Africa is like that. I think the kids and the technologies that they're going to bring things are going to change the game in Africa. And the situation was some years ago, if you didn't have access to physical access to things, you wouldn't be able to get the knowledge and the expertise. Now, this is not only in Africa. I remember when I was a student in Greece, I was on Chios Island. If I wanted to get access to a book, I had to get on a boat and travel for 12 hours to make sure to go to the library and hope that the book will be there. What's happening is the technology is bringing a level of equal field in the marketplace. And that's my positive kind of hope that in the future will be in a better way. I've tried, Daniel, to be as quick as possible. Here's a long list of different publications and based on the research. Joy, I'm not sure if this is what you wanted, but this is what you had at the end. I'm happy to take questions from the students or from any of the 200 participants that are out there. Before I stop sharing, I'll show you this screen, and this is the screen that you can stay in touch with me, connect to LinkedIn or any of the social media that you've got. Facebook is quite filled up for the time being, so I cannot take more. So thank you. Daniel, have you got any questions?
Yes, thank you for your sharing. We got a lot of compliments to you instead. So many students and many attendees really likely the sharing. But I do receive a few questions from students. So for students who...
Before you go there, Daniel, have we got Mr. Athman on the call?
Terry, may I know if you see?
I haven't seen his name yet. I have been checking.
Okay. Joey, can you please check? Okay. Can you connect with Mr. Athman to make sure that he's here? And in the meanwhile, I'll answer all the questions that you've got.
Yes.
Okay. So one question raised by our student is from Wong Na Ying. She said that one interesting thing about traveling is we may experience something unexpected. If we are getting too smart and know everything before the trip, would this means that our trips will become less interesting or become bored? So I think she would like to know your opinion on that.
Who is this? This is an excellent question. That's a fantastic question. It's a phenomenal question. And there's no answer to it. There's no answer to it because different people operate in different ways. Actually, you need to read the paper we've done with Daisy Fan, that we're talking about the typology. We've looked into 6 different types of travelers. Some of the travelers are control freak. They would like to go to Europe for 12 days and they've booked every single lunch, every single dinner. They know exactly what time they're going to have lunch on the 15th of July in Paris. And then the next day they're going to have, on the 16th of July, they'll have a lunch in Lille at 12:30. So there are people that are absolutely control freak. And on the other side, there are people who turn up, and it has happened to me in front of me. Someone turned up in Heathrow Airport, which is 40 minutes away from the center of London, Piccadilly, and said, "Hi guys, can I walk to any of the hotels here? Where is the city center?" They had no appreciation of where they were, and they had no idea where they were going. So you've got the two extremes. And in that paper we've done with Daisy, which I think we call it the typology of something. If one of our assistants can put that on the chat, it will be helpful, or I can find in a minute. So different people are dealing with things in different ways. I'll tell you what is my preference. I really like to get lost, and especially in Hong Kong, I always like to get lost. I've got a direction. Normally, I go north towards new territories, and then I go turn left and right, and I deliberately get lost so I can explore more different areas. But then at some stage, I switch on my maps and I say, okay, where am I? What's happening around me? But then I know that I've missed a very nice, very old restaurant, or a very nice place that was selling jade, or something that the local people would know. Or Daniel would see that I've been somewhere and say, oh, you went there. Did you go there? No, I didn't go there because I didn't know what I was doing. So what we see is that people are trying to optimize their time and their money. Okay, so when you're traveling, you would like the unexpected, but also you would like to optimize the time and the money. The other thing is that quite often you go into a place of cultural heritage and you rely on a guide to tell you what you see. So you go to Acropolis in Greece, or you go to the Great Wall of China, and you see stones, you see places, but unless you actually know what you're looking at, you need interpretation. Sometimes a guide is providing that interpretation, quite often not very well. So I'd like to be able to see and understand and connect and use all the resources available on location to optimize my time and why I'm there. But that's an excellent question that doesn't have an answer. But have a look on the paper we've done with Daisy Fun.
Thank you. So at least technologies can enable us to have choice or have this kind of boring. So I think this is what we should appreciate, but not just simply complain. I saw there's a audience named Juliet. She raised hand, and I guess she would like to ask questions. So Juliet, could you please turn on your microphone and then ask the question directly to Professor Buhalis?
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Professor Buhalis. My question is on integrating smart tourism with crowding and mobility. Do you think smart tourism can be used to control crowding and also impact on mobility in destinations, as well as
Absolutely.
the issue of tourism?
Absolutely. Imagine that 50,000 people are going to a football stadium, right? Now, if you're going to a football stadium, normally it's dead, unless there are teams that are playing football, right? So what's happening is that, now I'm not very good with football, but normally it's 90 minutes a football match, right? With other things, let's say 2 hours. What you see is that 1 hour before and 1 hour after, the whole region is quite busy. If you've got 60,000 people going in one direction, going to the stadium, and if you've got 60,000 people going out of the stadium back to where they came from, all of a sudden you've got too much traffic that you cannot control, you cannot manage. If you know in advance that this is happening, you can have proactive activity. So you can have more trains, more cars, you can block other roads. The roads are going one way rather than two ways and create chaos. But so smartness and technology gives us the opportunity to plan in advance on the things that we know, what we predict, but also help us to deal with emergencies or breaking news or accidents or things that we didn't predict that are going to happen. Okay, so, and then we have a whole range of different tools to use in order to manage the situation and optimize the outcome of the situation. Okay, so this is what, it's really about giving us the data to optimize the solution in real time. Let's go back to Joy and see if Mr. Athman is with us.
Hi, Joy. May I know if Mr. Athman is ready?
I had been calling him, but there is no answer. I know he came in earlier on.
Excuse me. I'm
Yes.
here for Mr. Athman. He will join you soon.
Okay.
Okay, very good. We
Thank you.
have time. Don't worry. I can take. He can take his time. I'm answering questions, and then. But just communicate with Joy so we know what's happening, right?
Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, Dimitrios, maybe you can answer one more question raised by our student, because I think that one is quite good, or from the audience, but not our student.
Okay.
She would like he or she would like to know if you believe that smart technologies can redress problems about poor destination image. Now, what she said is that during crisis, some countries got very poor destination image. So she or he would like to know if we can utilize the smart technologies to minimize negative impact work like that. Could you please share the thoughts with him or her?
Yeah, this is also very interesting. Look, smartness and smart tourism is not a beautician. It's not gonna make something more beautiful than it is. Okay. What it will do is it will give you the tools to manage the situation. So if you can share with us, who asked this question, can you come live and say what kind of image situation have you got, so I can be more to the point.
Oh, great. So the person who asked this question is named Rebecca. So Rebecca, are you here with us so that you can talk to Professor Buhalis directly? Rebecca Mwangi. Hi, Rebecca.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from all your time zones. So I'm from Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm interested in a concept of peace tourism, where it basically focuses on destinations that are coming out of conflict. So as a destination brander and destination marketer, and also as a peace builder, I'm interested in how technology can enhance issues of peace building, especially in destinations where there is conflict, so that we can put them back on the map. So I'm concerned, for example,
that is great, Rebecca. That's great. I was a little bit involved years and years and years back in Northern Ireland. I don't know if you remember, but in the 1990s, we had the troubles in Northern Ireland. The communities were fighting, and a lot of people had major issues. And what I say to them is that you need to use technology and you need to use storytelling to explain to people what is the situation. Okay. And people were telling me at that time, they said, oh, we cannot take sides because there are two sides of the story. I said, okay, as someone who is a tourist, I don't necessarily want to take a side. I'd like to know more of what is happening and why it's happening. So technology can give us the opportunity to raise awareness of what is happening. And if you are in a conflict situation, you may tell people, do not go to these areas because these areas are quite dangerous. But you may select through peacemaking initiatives that you'll keep some areas that they are sacred. So in Northern Ireland situation, for example, the communities decided that the taxis were not part of the sectarian action. So they were safe. So technology is not going to sort all your problems out, but gives you the opportunity to raise awareness of what's happening. It gives you also the opportunity to actually explain what is happening and be real, but you need to be authentic and you need to be absolutely accurate on what you're saying. And quite often what's happening is that if you've got a conflict of a disaster of some kind, like we had the tsunami in Sri Lanka years ago, right? The BBC went out, filmed something. Jerry would love that. They went out, they filmed something, and they were broadcasting it for a month. The tsunami happened over 10 to 12 minutes. Sea went out, did all the disaster, sea went in. But BBC was broadcasting the same footage for 1 month. Now, what technology enables us to do is to come back and say, look, guys, please do not broadcast this. this happened at this time. This is what the situation is at this time. It also gives us the opportunity to look for fake news. A lot of fake news are going around right now. And to understand what is happening, if we understand what's happening in real time, we can go back to the source of the fake news and stop it, or inform all the media that is reproducing the fake news that this is fake, and also provide evidence that this is the right thing. So this is a very interesting question, Rebecca. I think we'll need another 3 hours on this.
Thank you very much. Yes, because you can be able to simulate a lot with even early warning systems, combined with the media, combined with peace builders in real time. It's very interesting. Thank you.
Exactly. What I'm saying normally to people is that, would you send your cousin to this place? Because they were telling me in Los Angeles, look, we cannot say that we're not safe. I said, are you safe? No. I said, why you cannot say that you're not safe? So you need your tourist board to say, this place, it's not safe. If you've got alligators that are eating people in Orlando, you need to tell them, do not go to these areas, because the alligators are quite hungry and they'll eat you. Otherwise, you'll have people that have been eaten. And that's not a good thing for tourism, I can tell you.
Completely. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's get some more questions.
Okay, then I see that 2 audience raised hands, so may I invite Rachel to ask a question first, followed by Bernard.
Okay, thank you for this presentation, Professor Buhalis. It's quite insightful. And the fact that I'm actually a student of artificial intelligence and destination management,
Yay.
so it comes in handy for me. I'm studying at University of Girona, Spain. Currently, I'm in Kenya, but on mobility program. So I'm back to Kenyatta University. I'm at concept level. Therefore, my question is, what is the borderline between artificial intelligence and smart tourism? Because I'm just starting my PhD.
There's no borderline. Let's be quick on this, because we've got a lot of questions. There's no borderline. Artificial intelligence is supporting smart tourism. Artificial intelligence is doing calculations using intelligence, mimicking human intelligence. Smartness is based on all these calculations in real time that enable us to look into what can we do. So artificial intelligence is really about detecting things. So if there are a lot of people going in one direction, someone raises the alarm and say, why 60,000 people are going in that direction? Ah, there's a football match. Now we know what's happening. If there's a football match, this is what I need to do. Open the traffic light to go that way or wherever. So artificial intelligence supporting us to bring to look into patterns into data much faster than humans will do, and then to run different scenarios. If I leave the traffic light open in this direction for 5 minutes, what's going to happen? 2,000 cars are going to go that way. And if I leave it for 10 minutes, what's going to happen? So these are scenarios that we can run using artificial intelligence. And the other thing with artificial intelligence is it's learning from experience. So if we had 5 occasions where there was a football match played, then we learn from this experience. And every time the machine is becoming better at predicting what's going to happen and coming up with better solution, because it says, oh, last time I did that and this is what happened. In a very similar way that the human is doing, yeah? You can say, I had a coffee and I didn't sleep all night. You're learning not to have another coffee the next day. It's a very similar kind of way. So we are using artificial intelligence in smart tourism. It's an essential element to it.
May I ask if, thank you, Rachel, for your question. May I kindly ask if Mr. Athman is here and he's ready to start the sharing? If no, we can take one more question. Mr. Athman? I think he's still, so we may need a few more minutes. So Next question is by me, and is also combined with a question raised by our student from Kyla. Kyla would like to know that we understand that data and information are highly needed in order to personalize experience for tourists or for the consumers. But as you know that the data about customers are coming from different parties, like the examples you gave, some come from Vodafone, some may be from hotels, some may be from the others. Do you think that we truly needed an open system so that we can put all the data together so that we can fully understand what the customers need so that we can produce what they want? So what would be your opinion, Tethel?
Interesting and tricky question. That's a good paper, Daniel, to write. So basically, what you need is as open data as possible. But you know, a lot of data is proprietary. So a lot of people will not give you data because the data is giving them competitiveness. So we need both governments and legislation to make sure that as much data is available for the destination to manage in a way that everybody benefits from that. So the more, so typically, let me give you one simple example, right? Let's say that we've got in Hong Kong, we've got some like 800 hotels. You probably know better. If I knew what was the occupancy level of the hotels every single day and what was their average room rate, I would have done calculations to improve their collective yield management, revenue management. So Hong Kong as a region will get better revenue management collectively. Okay. Now, a lot of this data is confidential and proprietary. But the more we kind of get people to understand the value of sharing both information, data, and outputs value, the better it is. And yesterday in the conversation we had with the colleagues in Portugal, and David was talking about the legislation, because the legislation GDPR in Europe prevents people from getting access to information. So Vodafone cannot have information about individuals. They cannot have information about me as an individual. They can have information how many people are in a Liverpool Street station, but they cannot know who it is. And he was emphasizing that. And then I said to him, look, a lot of people are providing permission to give access to their data. Now, everybody who is in this call, if they need to use Wi-Fi, they keep pressing yes, 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 I accept, I accept, I accept. But they never read all the conditions that connecting to something is. And equally, they've given all the permission in the world to Google to look after their data and to know everything about them, and to Facebook, and to Twitter, and Instagram, TikTok, you name it, right? So what's happening is that a lot of the data becomes available and also in different platforms. The more we aggregate data and the deeper the data we have, the better it is for everybody. But that's a good paper, Daniel. Remind me on Monday.
Oh,
remind me on Monday.
No problem. All right. So as promised, I promised to give a chance to Bernard, because he raised hand. He or she raised hand for a long time. Right. So Bernard, could you please turn on your microphone so that you can ask a question to Professor Buhalis directly? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Daniel, and Professor Buhalis. Yeah? So my name is Bernard from Nairobi, Kenya. Firstly, I'm sorry if I may sound irrelevant to what has been presented today by Professor Buhalis. So I have a question, and actually I'm a victim. I'm a victim of the question that I'm about to ask. And this question is all about professionalism in the industry of hotel, hospitality, and tourism sector, that is. When we talk about employment, you know, what can you advise somebody? Because there is a challenge that I've seen before, a challenge going on, a case whereby most employers, most owners of the companies in the hotel, hospitality, and tourism sector, when it comes to employment, they employ the people who are not trained to be professional. Today, somebody will have, somebody who has trained to be a teacher, a primary teacher, will be employed maybe in the restaurant, in the hotel, but a person like, for example, I've gone to university, I've been handled by doctors and professors, I've attended the classes of management, knowing that at the end of my 4 years in the university, I fit to get a job in the industry, I fit to play the management roles, but going there, applying for a job, I don't even appear in the short list of the applicants. But
Okay,
when you go there the next day, yes.
Bernard, I quite often try to play God, but I'm not God, and I cannot sort all the problems in this earth. So I need to focus on the things I can do. But I think as far as employment is concerned, you've got a very valid point there, because I think a lot of our students are listening to us, and a lot of the people in Kenya and around the world are listening to us. And I think it's really important to realize that the professionalism of the future will be a function of your ability to deal with these systems. It's the ability of operating with technology, and it's the ability to discuss with industry using the technological developments that they've got up to date. And I've helped a lot of people around the world, both governments and individual businesses, to look into how they can operate and who do they employ. And I think one of the reasons why I'm doing these things and why I'm opening up a lot of my lectures to everybody, and why a lot of these things are on my YouTube channel, is to give the opportunity to people from around the world to actually learn and develop their employment skill. And I think that will be very, very important for the smartness of the future. I can see Mr. Athman had just joined us, and let us welcome him. Thank you very much for being with us, sir. And we really want to learn from your experience and how Kenya is dealing with smart tourism, and how you're using technology as a case study to attract us all to magical Kenya.
Thank you very much, Professor. And sorry for I stepped out the session. I had the first bit of your very interesting presentation and the pyramid that you presented, and it's very, very useful. Let me see if I can share the screen.
Yes, please. So you're on a computer or on a mobile phone?
I'm on the computer.
Right. At the bottom should say, has got a green button, say share screen.
Yes.
And now it's coming. Perfect, it's coming. Thank you so much. Just make it on the perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I will leave out the initial bits that have already been captured on the background and the framework on how technology can be applied in terms of tourism. Particularly provide some examples that we in Kenya, in the magical Kenya, have tried or are applying technology. First of all, in terms of the destination promotion, and again, this is one of the elements that was there in the pyramid, we have done a few interventions or initiatives. Sometime last year, we did a campaign together with TikTok of the migration in the Mara, and this attracted 400 million viewers. We've also been having quite a collaborative engagements with a number of technology houses, Google, Facebook, TripAdvisor, in terms of consumer-to-consumer channels. And this has helped us, and this largely through our destination management agency, that is the Kenya Tourism Board. We've also partnered with the online travel agencies in terms of promoting the destination. We have used QR codes in a number of domains. I think quite a number of top-end hotels, restaurants in particular, they now use QR codes. Lots of the exhibitions, and this has been also accelerated by COVID and the need to have contactless engagements. Also, in terms of getting content, drones are now part of our approaches in terms of getting content for the various experiences and various products that we have in Kenya. In terms of information to agents and consumers as a destination, again, COVID was a great helper in this particular regard. So we did participate, and our agents were participated in the learning in the last year. And we have a number of our tourism information centers that have touch screens at strategic locations in the cities and in the towns. Like in Kenya, the coastal town of Mombasa, we have a very vibrant tourism information center. We also have virtual tours. Indeed, pre-COVID, in 2016, the ministry partnered with Google, and one of the earliest Google Street Views was actually shot in Kenya. So if you go to the Google Street View that they have, and the content that is there, and the Google Street View, not only was it about our streets, but they also went to our experiences in the national parks and reserves. And one of the establishments, Conservancy or Pejeta, has during the COVID, they introduced the sofa safaris, where through virtual media, you can actually take a trip to experience. The live streaming, which I've already mentioned earlier, directly from the Mara. And in terms of our destination as a meeting destination, they also conducted a number of webinars across the sector. The Kenya Airways is one of the first African airlines to implement the Altair Network Revenue Management System, which by itself, apart from the fact that you can book online, but because of data, it enables predict consumer behavior and therefore target particular priced products to the consumers. And the Kenya Airports Authority, which is the agency responsible of managing all our airports in Kenya, was the first country in Africa to use a blockchain-based solution, the trusted travel during the time of COVID. So that really helped in terms of facilitating passengers with the certificates. Also in the country, we do have a number of establishments that are now adopting smart reserved parking. This is where you can use sensors and to be able to reserve a parking spot before you reach the destination. In terms of big data, Kenya, again, Kenya is a technological hub, one of the most vibrant hubs in Africa. Apart from the M-Pesa that has been talked about in terms of digital payments, we do have and do host, particularly in the cities of Nairobi and Mombasa, African hubs in a number of areas. So in terms of tourism, we have access to travel and tourism market through subscription to big data bases like Euromonitor and Forward Keys, and these data help us in terms of planning. In terms of travel facilitation, again, as a destination, we are amongst the first, if not the first country in Africa, which introduced online visa processing. That was in 2015, 2016 as a country. So you no longer have to go to the embassies in the various countries to get a visa for Kenya. You do it online, you pay online, and you get the visa online. And in terms of citizens, this visa online was actually at the backbone of what was introduced 2-3 years earlier. That is what is called e-citizen. E-citizen is a portal where citizens access government services online. They no longer need to visit offices, government offices. Where you are required to visit government offices is only largely for biometrics, to get your biometrics. So, and that really has revolutionized in our country services to citizens. So this now has also been extended to our visitors and the tourists that are there. So there are various forms in which this has affected travel, in terms of visa, in terms of passport replacements, in terms of COVID-19. Online ticketing had been there before, and what Kenya is known as the founder and the premier country to introduce payments, mobile money payments through the M-Pesa, and this now is common, and we are very happy that other destinations have taken the same. You're aware that Kenya is one of its major known experiences is a safari, and that's on the back of the wildlife conservation. So in the wildlife conservation areas, technology defines most of the experience. Cashless payment, in terms of the breeding that is happening in a number of conservancies, they use a lot of technology to monitor the breeds that are there. I mean, the temperatures, the health conditions. In terms of the our premier institution, that's the Kenya Wildlife Service, it continues to depend on technology in all aspects of it, right from we have just talked about in terms of the cashless system, in terms of digital entry into the parks. This is now it was initiated about 3, 4, 5 months ago. It should be rolled out maybe in the next couple of months. That bookings to all the national parks and reserves, we will not do it at the gates. You will go online to KWS website and book your tickets for the days you want to go there, and pay online. You just present yourself the code at the gate that is there. So the security system as well, the collaring of animals. This is where you put identifiable devices on the animals so that you track them, where they are, their movements, you study their behavior. Drone technology that we have said, and this is particularly so for the animals that are endangered. So that is some of the animals, the rhinos, that have been collaring, and the process of collaring itself on the right side of the screen. The screen that you see there is a kind of technology that is used for in conservation. We have artificial intelligence, we have camera traps, the whole range that it is available in Kenya. It is used in Kenya, and it is used both in the national parks and also in the conservation areas. So our learning as a destination in terms of the use of technology, because a lot of time technology can also be overwhelming. And I think also Professor Dimitrios did mention that in the earlier presentation. What we have learned as a destination is that when you want to use technology, you don't just use it for the sake of it. You need to ask yourself, why do you want to use that technology? I mean, you must have a reason. The technology needs to enhance what you are doing, not just doing it for the sake of doing it. And who then will be the people involved in the use of that technology, both in terms of the users of the facility, in terms of the consumers. If you're talking about visitors, you must have a range, the whole range of it. Who is your target in that use of technology? The how that technology will be used, because you also need to not to make assumptions that everybody is technology savvy. It must be such that there are simple processes that can be that are adaptable. I think you have seen situations whereby people at the airports and you have the kiosks that are there for the check-in kiosks. But a lot of times, and I think I read a research that said that 40% of the travelers really normally get difficulties in using those travel kiosks at the airport. So you need to ensure that the technology that you choose to use, then it is easy. And the choice of that particular technology is also important. In terms of the affordability of the technology, in terms of maintenance of the technology, and in terms of the adaptability of the technology, because technology also changes very fast. The other lesson is that we need collaboration in the use of this, in using technology. remember that particularly in terms of travel and tourism, it's a whole chain. And again, I think Professor Dimitrios talked about it earlier. It's a whole chain. So one part needs to link to the other part. If I could go to one of the slides here, like you see across the value chain, aviation, accommodation and restaurants, tour operations, attractions. So we need to have technology that speaks to each other, and the stakeholders that participate in the choices that we make. The other lesson that we have learned from this is that without training, you may have technology that may prove difficult for adaptation. This in particular for Kenya, when we rolled out the visa, the online visa system, we realized that at the initial bit of it, there was no adequate training of our immigration staff. So therefore, you'd have somebody who is applying for a visa, and then the person runs into trouble, tries to contact the help centers, and the help centers were not as effective. But this was changed after the staff who are manning these sessions were properly trained. We have had a greater service response. And again, this is what I said in the earlier bit of it, is that we need to know that technology changes in leaps and bounds. What we have now in 2022, we are sure that by 2024, that technology will have changed in a major way. So the way the various frameworks for technology are put must be such that it allows flexibility in terms of design, in terms of, to adapt. And what that means is that increasingly, you will find that technology that will be more successful will be technology that the user himself is able to modify around. Increasingly, we shall be having technology that will not be driven from the back room, so to speak, of the developers, of the coders, and of the analysts. It will be technology that will allow the user at the front end to make adjustments that is there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Athman. That was very inspirational. And it's wonderful to see so many interesting things that you're doing in Kenya. And I've learned a lot. And I have to be honest with you, some of the things that you're doing, I was expecting that you're doing it. But some of the things that you're doing are really, really impressive. And especially the wildlife conservation. I haven't seen anybody else doing it. And that is a fantastic opportunity to actually create some more awareness and learn out of that. And I think there's more to it, because if I come to Kenya and I see some of the lions and I see some of the wildlife, I'll get emotionally attached to this wildlife. And then I would like to know the welfare of the lions. I would like to see different things. So with Daniel, we're working currently on some kind of research where we're looking to before, during, and after. And it will be fantastic to actually follow up the life of certain animals. The animals that they have an emotional connection with the people that they've visited and they've seen them. And I think that is absolutely wonderful. And thank you for all your presentation. We are running a little bit out of time. I think we can take one or two questions, but I really want, while people are thinking and they're putting some questions on the chat for Daniel to bring forward, there are two or three things, key learnings that I took away. And actually you can stop sharing your screen now, so we can see more people on the screen. Thank you so much. The first thing is that everybody in Kenya, and I think those things people in Kenya should learn from what you said and help you, because traditionally people are looking to their government to do the job for them. But what we need to learn is that we are part of the value co-creation within the ecosystem. So everybody in Kenya, everybody in Hong Kong, everybody in China, and everybody wherever they are looking, they are watching us. They should be creating content about the things that they really care about. So you cannot have the minister or the secretary general of the National Tourist Board being everywhere, taking pictures, promoting everything. Everybody is blessed with some of these machines that can go around and can create wonderful content, especially in places like Kenya that is so rich in terms of natural resources and so rich in cultural and heritage resources. Please, when you go around, take content, user-generated content, upload it on the platforms that you are using. Use a hashtag, I don't know, Love Kenya or hashtag Kenya or wherever. Communicate with your tourist board and make sure that you can contribute to the content creation that the tourist board is developing. And be part of the ecosystem. Be a good citizen, promote your own destination and make sure that you engage with the destination. The second thing is the training and the education. I think I'm really grateful that you're here and that you're listening to us for a couple of hours, because you have already identified an area that you need to learn. And you came to us, and Joy came to me and said, with your association, we'd love to learn from you. That's the first stage. And the first stage is to understand that you need to learn, and you need to learn the skills, and you need to find out this.
Hi, Dimitrios. I'm sorry, I think there's a technical problem happening from Professor Buhalis' side. Hi, Dimitrios. All right. Yeah, I trust Dimitrios may want to summarize what Mr. Athman said. So I think we learned a lot from Mr. Athman sharing, and we do believe that apart from the technologies themselves, retraining the staff, providing suitable education for future pillars to utilize those technology to improve the development of smart tourism is also very important. So I would like to also take this chance to thank you, Mr. Athman, for giving this kind of inspiring sharing to all the students.
Thank you, Daniel, that you stepped in. Please don't close the session. You did a fantastic. Now I'm talking about technology, and my technology fails, right? But thank you so much, Daniel. There are 2 or 3 more things that we need to say. And I see that everywhere around the world. I see that the decision makers are people that are 50, 60 years old people, that we are all digital immigrants. But in fact, most of the people who understand the technology are 20, 25 years old digital natives, because they were born with this technology and they understand how to use it. I keep saying to everybody that I got my first mobile phone when I was 30 years old. So what the minister and the tourist boards need to realize is that the talent is coming from the young people, and they need to harness the talent. They need to really bring the young people and the talent on technology to help the country, and any country, to see how we can take things forward and how we can engage with different players in order to do it. And typically, I'm not sure if that is the case in Kenya, but typically the decision makers are not the best qualified people to make the decisions. And I think that we really need to realize that, because if we realize that, we can make a huge progress. I'll take the opportunity also to ask if there are any academics on the call, and I guess there are some academics. Anybody who'd like to do smart tourism and wildlife conservation and sustainability, I really want to work with you on this, because this is really fascinating. It will be fantastic to actually do some nice things. And what else? And I had two questions while Mr. Athman was talking. I've looked into all the questions. There are two questions here that I would like to answer. One is whether technology will replace people. And the answer is yes. There is no different way of looking at it. The answer is that the technology will replace people. But we really need to replace the jobs that we don't want to do. I don't know if anybody who'd like to be a dishwasher, and I don't know anybody who'd like to be a pot washer. If a robot can actually do this, so much the better. And we need to train people to come forward to understand the jobs of the future. A lot of the jobs, I keep saying that to our students here, a lot of the jobs that they'll be called to do by 2030 have not been invented yet. If I was telling you community manager 5-10 years ago, you would have said, what is this? Okay, so we really need to progress our knowledge expertise in order to be able to be relevant. And yes, there'll be a replacement of people, but we need to train people and help them to understand how to help in the future. Another question that there was on the call was about whether technology will be required on classification of hotels and branding. And that's also a very interesting question, because a lot of the classification that we used to have in the past was because we could not really describe hotels, and we could not give the opportunity for people to see hotels. So we were classifying hotels 2-star, 3-star, 5-star, or whatever, which means nothing anymore. Because if a 2-star hotel may be much better than a 5-star hotel, and a 5-star hotel may be much worse than a 2-star hotel. And now we've got the tools to explain that. Why? Because we can have interactive online presence, not only on website, but social media, on a whole range of things, that we say, what is our brand about? Okay, so you've got glamping, I understand, in Kenya. Camping, glamorous camping with very nice kind of tents and chilled drinks and things like that. This may be 10-star, may not be a 2-star. But if you use the typical classification, may be a 2-star because it doesn't have a swimming pool. But I don't need to have a swimming pool to have a 7-8-star experience. So a lot of these things is legacy thinking, and we need to go forward into another level. I can see Daniel getting a little bit upset because we are 2 minutes away, and I think I'll stop here by saying thank you to Mr. Athman and to the minister for facilitating that. We're very grateful for having us having you with us, and to say thank you to Joy for giving us the opportunity and your association to bring everybody together and engage that. Over to you, Daniel. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you, Professor Buhalis. So just the final words is to say thank you again for Mr. Athman for spending his valuable time there, and also thanks for his generosity of sharing a lot of updated information to students and also all the audience. So as you can see on the screen, so our school would like to present a e-certificate to Mr. Athman for joining today's Professor for a Day. So I trust all the audience learn a lot from you, and we also hope that we will have some time and chances to visit Kenya to see how you gradually develop Kenya as a smart tourism destination. So thank you once again, Mr. Athman, for your time and for your sharing. Yeah, so I think that's all for today's session. I hope you all enjoy that. And once again, thank you, Professor Buhalis and Mr. Athman, for your sharing. I will seek the approval from both speakers to see if we can share the presentation and recording with you. So for those audience invited by Joy, so I will ask Joy to distribute the copies if speakers are happy to do that. All right. So yeah, once again, good. Thank you. So thank you again for joining us. So wish you all have a nice morning, afternoon, evening, and wish you have a nice weekend ahead. Right. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you, TPA
Thank you.
members.
Thank you for coming.
See you.